Hey everybody, it's Quasi back here on Metalholic Radio, the Circle of Insanity, and with us tonight, as promised, Danny Toom of Forearm. How the hell are you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing absolutely wonderful.
It's always a blast.
I was just talking to our own sadistic surgeon a few minutes ago on the air about today's bad news, and I want to get your take on it. They officially announced that Tommy Clufetos is going to replace Bill Ward for this Black Sabbath reunion. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Man, in all honesty, it's not a Black Sabbath reunion then, is it, really?
Thank
it's
you.
Just a few dudes from Black Sabbath getting together from the original lineup. It's not, you can't call it a reunion, man, unless they're all there. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, man, it's not a reunion. I'll put it that way. I can't view it as a reunion, you know?
That's exactly what I thought. So, all right, well, let's jump right into it then. I want to talk about Forearm, the band, everything you guys are doing, because you got a big year coming. The album is just kicking serious ass. But tell us a little bit about you. Give us your backstory, if you will, and if there was sort of a moment for you, whether it was a concert, a song, an album, or something, where it was sort of like an epiphany and you're like, this is what I want to do for my life.
Yeah, man, I can give you the exact moment. I was about 9. And I heard Fight Fire with Fire by Metallica. And ever since that moment, man, it was really, this is what I was born to do type thing. It's what felt right. And I did everything that I could from that moment on to make sure I was in the right sort of streams, so to speak, to try and make it happen. I grew up listening to Bay Area thrash, and it's what I always wanted to do, man. From there I busted the parents' nuts to buy me a guitar and joined my first band. I was 12. When I joined my first band, I was just a vocalist then. No, I couldn't really sing very well. It was pretty bad, but it all sort of began from there, man. I've never sort of been out of a band since, been pushing since then. So
nice. So what was your first guitar then?
My first guitar, I still have it too, man. It's an old Samick. I don't even know what model it is, but it was like it came in like a package deal with a little PV practice amp and all this sort of thing. And it was, I think back then it cost about $350 or something like that. And that was it, man. I still have the guitar today. It's, sitting there mainly in parts, but it's still there.
Nice. So Fight Fire with Fire kicked it all off for you. It's funny. I'm actually from the Bay Area. When I first got into doing what I do, I was in the Bay Area working for a magazine then, so I was there for that whole Bay Area thrash scene when it came about. I always wonder when I talk to thrash bands, we always hear about the Big Four and everything, but do you think there's somebody missing from the Big Four? Should it be a Big Five? If so, who do you think's missing?
Definitely, man. I reckon Testament's missing for a start. Just my personal opinions, Testament should be in there. I think that, bands like Exodus and bands like Machine Head and all those sort of dudes, man, they should all be included on this thing. You know what I mean? They should just call it, I don't know, change it from the Big Four to the just Bay Area Thrash Kings or something like that. You know what I mean? Just tour it like that or something, man. But yeah, there's just so many, man, that really just kick ass. And for us personally, half a world away, it's been a major influence on us, man. It's had a massive impact on our lives, and we're all down for it, man.
Yeah, and for me, it's always been Exodus. Exodus was the band that started it all for me. I thought they were the first of the Big Five, if you will, and then of course Testament was sort of the bookend of that. So I always call it the Big Six. But yeah, definitely great bands, and it was great just growing up in that scene and seeing all those bands and everything. But and when you think of Australia, though, thrash isn't the first sort of rock you think of. What's the scene like there for you guys?
Very, Australia really, is in terms of just even its sheer population, really puts you in like a very underground spot anyway. And then when you're playing a percentage of that small percentage, it's really not that fantastic. So, if you were to bring the Big Four through here, you'd have 40,000 people going to the concerts, you know what I mean? But for rising sort of thrash bands and bands that you sort of consider like not as big as Big Four. So, for example, in the Bay Area, you'd be looking at maybe, Exodus and New Testaments and stuff like that. Bands that don't have the same profile as Metallica or Megadeth and that sort of thing. When you look at the percentages, it's really not that fantastic, man. It's kind of still very underground. And like I said, thrash is a small percentage of the tiny percentage that makes up the metal scene down here anyway. So for a thrash band trying to emerge into anything, you need to go offshore, you know what I mean?
Now, tell us a little bit about the backstory of the band then, how it all came together and how you guys came to where you are. And of course, because you're brand new to the masses anyway, you got to give us the story behind the name as well.
The name. Yeah, well, the name came about, it was really just kind of tongue-in-cheek, man. It was almost a piss take on ourselves, to be honest, the beginning of the name anyway. We pretty much got tired of trying to think of a name. It's the only thing in the band, really, that we never really took that seriously. Basically what used to happen is when we used to get together and we started out, we used to play that hard and fast. I think at that time we were sort of cranking like 220, 230 beats per minute on just about anything that we'd play. And by the time we'd finished sort of going through a few songs, we'd have that much lactic acid build up in our arms and forearms and stuff that we decided to call the band Forearm Dismobilizer because we just couldn't use our arms after it. So basically the name was too long, so we cut it down to Forearm, and originally it had that meaning until sort of once we looked into things a little further, forearm means to be prepared for war, you know what I mean? You forearm yourself before going into battle, and it's kind of what we're doing as far as being a Bay Area influenced thrash band on the other side of the world. So, we're sort of going into battle with the masses and the bigger fish in the pond now, I suppose. But the beginning of the band, we, Nick and I, the drummer and I, have known each other forever. We went to school with each other and had played in other bands prior to Forearm, and it was always just sort of something we always worked well together, and we always clicked and sort of connected. So when we decided to start our own thing, it was always kind of the case of we were joining other people's bands, and then I'd bring Nick in on that band, or vice versa. Then we finally decided, what, let's just do our own damn thing and let's start our own thing. So we decided to sort of create Forearm, and Johnny and Andy came through kind of just mutual friends that we had, that these dudes were looking for bands, and like, yeah, cool, we sort of start jamming and see what comes of it. And sure enough, we all got along really well, and we all connected very, very well. And 3 albums later, we're still together, and we're about to do some pretty serious touring and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the beginning of everything, man.
And you guys are going to be doing some huge touring this year. You're playing Download, which is huge, and of course you're going to be over here in the States doing a lot of touring. Tell us a little bit about Download and the upcoming tour. Yeah,
Download for us, I mean, like I said, man, back in the day when I was just getting into music and just getting into thrash metal, and I remember watching Metallica perform Harvester of Sorrow at Donington, and it was like, you know what, that to me is the ultimate dream. That's all I've ever wanted to experience was what it was like to walk onto a stage at a festival like Donington, So Download, for us, it really is like a childhood dream come to reality. So we're super stoked that we're on the bill. We're super stoked that we're on this particular lineup. I mean, you could pretty much say the big four are there, bar Slayer, you know what I mean?
Right.
So for us, it's a huge honour. I mean, we're the only Australian thrash band to ever play in Donington, regardless of whether it's Download or Donington itself. So we kind of make history for ourselves and for our country anyway, and to go over there and represent for ourselves is a huge step, really, and we're super stoked for it, man. We're still in disbelief, you know what I mean? I don't think we'll believe it until we're actually there doing it. And coming over to the States that's something I've wanted to do since I was 12. It was like a goal that I'd sort of set for myself when I was a kid. So to be able to come over and do it now is just awesome. We're looking forward to it. We'll be there sort of for the better part of 2 months. I think we land in LA on the 24th, and we leave LA on the 24th of June. We land and leave sort of around the 6th of August sort of thing, and pretty much every day is booked out, man, across the West Coast and Midwest of the States. So we're really looking forward to that tour.
Actually, isn't it like parts of 2 different tours?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. We've got the main leg of the tour, which is the Zombie Apocalypse tour that we're doing with Casket of Cassandra, Pray for Sleep. Short Fuse will be joining us on some of the tour, and Deprivation from Australia also. So that's kind of the main leg of the tour. That's what's taken us through the entire West Coast and Midwest. Around there, we'll be on that tour, and then we've got sort of added shows here and there where we're sort of playing the Battle for Mayhem, and we've got shows at the Whiskey in Hollywood, and a few other couple of shows here and there along the way as well. So, yeah, I think entirely it works out to around 30 shows for the time that we're there. So we're really looking forward to it.
Right, including that big Bay Area Thrash Fest, if you will. I mean, going back to the home of where it all sort of kicked off.
Exactly, yeah, and that's another thing that we're just super stoked about being able to play. I mean, like I said, man, and it's no secret, we're very influenced by the Bay Area thrash metal scene, and to be able to play the Bay Area Thrash Festival is just, it's a huge honor for us, man. It's being included in on something like that is, we're stoked. We're just at a loss for words for most of it, man.
I was going to ask you all from the gist of the conversation. I guess I could already gather the answer, but I'll ask anyway. If you could take Forearm on tour with one of the big 4, who would you go out with?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious, man. Metallica.
I kind of figured when you started with Fight Fire with Fire, that seemed to be a pretty simple answer there. But
yeah, man, yeah. Well, I mean, for us, Metallica was what got us into thrash. You know what I mean? But before that, it was all about Whitesnake and White Lion and all that sort of thing. But when I heard Metallica, and the first song I ever heard from Metallica was Fight Fire with Fire, and I was like, nah, this shit is king. I've been a huge Metallica fan my whole life. You know what I mean?
It was so much easier in the hair metal days to name a band, though, wasn't it? All you had to do was like pick a color, pick an animal, throw them together, and you were good.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
So, now, tell us a little bit about the songwriting process in Forearm, how that works for you guys.
We probably tend to do things a little bit differently to the norm, as far as writing material is concerned. All the material is written with myself and Mick. But we usually start out with drums first, which is not really a normal practice. I mean, normally dudes would sort of rock up with maybe a melody vocally or a riff or something like that and build off that. We've always tended to build everything off the foundation of the song, which would be the drums. So once we get sort of a cool direction or a cool beat, or we've got a couple of ideas of where we want a sort of song to go on the drums, then we build off that. I sort of write the riffs over the top of what Nick's got in his head, and then I'll write vocals over the top of that. So lyrics and vocals and all that sort of thing, that they are the complete last thing that ever get done to the music, because I always fit the vocals in with what we have. I never sort of build around a vocal structure, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, the writing process for us probably a little bit different than most sort of bands, I suppose. But it works for us, man. I mean, we've done sort of, the last 2 albums have been done like that, where we'll come up with the drums first, we'll lay the drum tracks down first, and then I'll take the sort of just the raw drums away on CD or something like that, and sit there and come up with a whole bunch of ideas with riffs. And then Mick and I will sit there and go through what we like, what we don't like, and what we think needs to change, and what should stay, and what we can build on. So, yeah, it's how we approach it, and it's worked for us so far, man. So I can't see us changing that sort of method.
So now, do you come up with, as a guitar player, do you come up with your riffs with the guitar in hand, just playing around, or you sort of get at the idea in your head and then go pick the guitar up?
A bit of both, man. Really, it depends. Sometimes it'll just click and flow, and because Mick and I are very, very like-minded when it comes to our music, and I kind of know exactly where he's going with a certain beat. He doesn't need to sit there and kind of explain to me, I was thinking this or I was thinking that. I get the tracks and I know what to do with them. It's kind of really a bit of both, man. If I'm stuck on something and the doodling around is not working, then I'll, have the beat in my head and I'll sort of think about it and try and envision what I believe should be over the top of it, and then go pick up the guitar and see if I can make it speak. But for the most part, it's usually I'll be sitting there with the guitar and I'll play through the track and just sort of, run through a few riff ideas, and if I like something, then I'll build off that. So, kind of both ways, man.
I just always wondered how weird I was, because no matter how much I play my guitar, the best riffs for me always come, for some strange reason, when I'm in the shower. And entire songs come to me then. I don't get it, but...
Yeah.
So...
Mine's usually if I'm making toast or a coffee in the morning or something like that, something will pop in my head, and I'll go pick up the guitar. So, yeah, I know what you mean.
Now, Submission for Liberty is, even though it's the first album on the new label and everything, and you guys actually had released it before that yourselves anyhow, that's your third album, though, isn't it?
Yes, it's our third album, yeah.
So, but that's been out a while now, although it's really just hitting the masses now, if you will. Are you guys already working on the stuff for the next album? And if so, when do you think that's going to be, studio time and getting it out to everybody?
We kind of like to move quick. Between our second and third album, I think there was like a 1-year break between release dates and starting to write for a new album and all that sort of thing. In saying that, we're obviously doing a hell of a lot more with Submission for Liberty than we ever have in the past. We're very much a working band and love being in the studio writing new material. So in saying that, we haven't officially sort of started writing new stuff for a new album, but we have been throwing things backwards and forwards already. And, in saying all of that, it's really, this year's, again, we're sort of in the UK at the start of June. We're coming over to the States in June, July, and a little bit of August. We're going to Europe to do a run of shows through Europe in October, November. And there's already a lot of talk of us doing some things with some bigger name bands kind of mid next year. So we may, start writing at the start of the new year. We may take Christmas off and then begin writing for the new album. And then, our writing process usually takes anywhere to sort of 10 months to 12 months before we're 100% happy anyway with what we have. So in saying that, if we're touring next year, I'd hope that by the end of next year we could all expect another album out.
Nice. That's assuming the whole world doesn't come to an end at the end of this year, as people have predicted, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. So before we get out of here, I'm going to put you on the spot and get your list of 5 essential thrash albums.
5 essential thrash albums. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Seasons in the Abyss, Rust in Peace, Burn My Eyes, Master of Puppets, and Souls of Black.
Nice. Excellent list. Danny, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us. Now, where can everybody get their hands on the album?
If everybody jumps onto the Facebook, they can be directed to where to get their hands on all our stuff. From there, we've got all the links and all that sort of provided. You can go to forearm.net and see where all the stores, who has the album and who sells the album, and you could go through your list there, and whether you want to jump on iTunes and get it or whether you want to go in store and get it. It's available everywhere, so you shouldn't have any dramas.
Nice. Facebook.com/forearmofficial and forearm.net, the 2 big websites there. And we'll take you out of here with one last question. If you were to cover as Forearm one Metallica song, would it be Fight Fire with Fire, or would it be something else?
Good question. Probably Battery, man.
Battery. Nice choice.
Yeah.
We're going to get out of here. We're going to leave with Taken Down from Submission for Liberty. Danny, thanks so much, and we will talk to you again real soon, I hope.
Definitely, man. Thanks heaps for having me, Rustin, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Take care, brother.